Morning.
Morning.
Mind if I join you?
Please.
Some representatives of Homo erectus probably first left Africa around 2 million years ago, heading for the Levant, the Black Sea region, and Georgia, and possibly via northwest Africa towards southern Spain. A second wave of expansion likely occurred around 600,000 years ago. Afterward, Homo erectus evolved into the Neanderthals in Europe, while in Africa, around 200,000 years ago, Homo erectus evolved into the archaic Homo sapiens, and from this, into anatomically modern humans. Homo erectus, originating from East Africa, reached Israel as early as 1.8 million years ago, similar to Georgia, but no traces have been found in Egypt to date. However, as early as the 19th century, stone tools were found in the Nile Valley that can be attributed to the late Acheulean period. The Acheulean is an archaeological culture of the Paleolithic period. A striking feature of this culture are large, flattened, oval, or pointed hand axes, always worked on both sides. Closed groups of hand axes, possibly 300,000 to 400,000 years old, were found in Egypt, for example, in the Nile Valley. Emergency excavations in Nubia, which began before construction of Lake Nasser began, showed that the region may have represented a separate cultural province, as the cleavers typical of Africa were missing. These are large, rectangular artifacts, usually worked on two sides, with a sharp, broad edge at one end. The Nile Valley is thought to have been continuously inhabited by humans for around 500,000 years. The Sahara, on the other hand, was only habitable during periods of sufficient rainfall, although the lower Nile was not directly affected by the ice ages. Unlike Northern America, Europe, and Asia, glaciers in the south absorbed water during these phases, which then reduced the flow to the lower reaches of the river. The remains of these phases lie 20 to 30 meters above today's flood level. Rare lower Paleolithic sites and more common Middle Paleolithic sites are mostly located in these higher elevations. Fishing began at the latest in the Middle Paleolithic, which can be traced back to 230,000 years ago in Egypt. The Denisovans were a population of the genus Homo, closely related to Neanderthals and, like them, close to anatomically modern humans, Homo sapiens, but genetically distinguishable from both species. In English language literature, they are called Denisovan hominins, or Denisovans for short.
They come, fight, they destroy, they corrupt. It always ends the same.
Homo heidelbergensis, Heidelberg man, or Heidelberg man belongs to the genus Homo, named by Otto Skudensack in 1908. Fossils from the European Middle Pleistocene, which are 600,000 to 200,000 years old, are particularly attributed to this species. The Neanderthal, scientifically known as Homo neanderthalensis, is an extinct relative of anatomically modern humans, Homo sapiens. They evolved in Europe, parallel to Homo sapiens in Africa, from a common African ancestor of the genus Homo, Homo erectus, and temporarily populated large parts of southern, Central, and Eastern Europe. Apparently, during the last ice age, Neanderthals expanded their originally exclusively European settlement area to include Western Asia, Turkey, the Levant, northern Iraq, parts of Central Asia, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, and even the Altai region. Cheddar Man is the name given to the approximately 10,000-year-old, largely preserved skeleton of a man discovered in 1903 in Gough's Cave in Somerset, England, and first scientifically described in 1904. Additional bones were discovered in 1934, and reconstruction of the skeleton took until 1937. Cheddar Man died at the age of approximately 23. The skeleton became a symbol of the beginning of the uninterrupted settlement of the island of Great Britain by anatomically modern humans, Homo sapiens, after the end of the last ice age, which has continued to this day. In fact, the settlement of the island dates back much further, as evidenced by several human skull caps discovered in the same cave, which are approximately 14,700 years old and were ritually treated after the individual's deaths. Cheddar Man was named after his discovery in Cheddar Gorge, near the village of Cheddar. We conclude that Cheddar Man most likely had blue/green eyes, dark brown, possibly black, hair, and dark or dark to black skin. As of 2018, the scientific consensus is that populations living in Europe develop lighter skin over time because lighter skin absorbs more sunlight, which is needed to produce sufficient vitamin D. There are a handful of genetic variations associated with lighter skin. The study found that Cheddarman had ancient versions of all of these genes, strongly suggesting he must have had a dark to black skin tone, but in combination with blue eyes. The Weichselian glaciation, Weichselian glacial period, or Weichselian complex refers to the last cold period of the Cenozoic Ice Age and the associated glaciation in northern Europe and northern Central Europe. Colloquially, it is also called the Weichselian Ice Age or Weichselian period, while in the Alpine region it is called the Worm glaciation. During the Weichselian glaciation, also called the Weichselian glaciation or Last Ice Age, c. 115,000 to 11,700 BC, it was significantly colder in Europe and other regions than today. Temperatures varied greatly depending on the region and time period. Here are some important details. The coldest phase of the Weichselian glaciation was the so-called last glacial maximum, approximately 21,000 years ago. The global average temperature was about 6 to 7 degrees lower than today. In Europe and North America, winter temperatures often ranged from -30 to 50 degrees Celsius, especially in areas near glaciers. Central Europe, Germany, Poland, France, approximately 10 to 15 degrees colder than today. Northern Europe, Scandinavia, Baltic states, up to 20 degrees colder. Siberia and North Asia approximately 10 to 15 degrees colder. North America, Canada, USA, up to 15 to 20 degrees colder. Tropics, Africa, Southeast Asia, South America, approximately 3 to 5 degrees colder. Excavations in Jebel Irhoud, Morocco. About 300,000 years ago, a cave in a fertile savanna landscape existed at this site. Archaeologists found the fossilized bones of 5 early Homo sapiens, as well as stone tools, and the bones of hunted animals. Jebel Irhoud, Gebal Igad also. Jebel Ighoud, or biblically Tubal Cain, is an archaeological and paleoanthropological cave site in Morocco and is considered the cradle of life. First there were Adam and Eve, and then Abel and Cain. And after Abel, there was Seth, and then there were Cain and Seth. His father, Lamech, was descended from Adam's eldest son, Cain. Lamech was married to Ada and Zillah bore their son, Tubal Cain. His sister was Naamah. The Bible also mentions his 2 half-brothers, Jabal and Jubal. After his father, Lamech, became blind, Tubal Cain accompanied him on the hunt as his guide. He deflected Lamech's hunting arrow, which then fatally struck Lamech's father, Cain. Horrified by this, Lamech killed his son, Tubal Cain. According to the Bible, Tubal Cain is said to have been the progenitor of all metal workers and blacksmiths. In Freemasonry, Tubal Cain's name is traditionally used as the password for the apprentice degree. But that's another story.
Do you have any idea how badly I want to kill you?
Yes.
One of these days, sooner or later.